The great crystal dome of Viridian Prime stretched across the sky like a frozen ocean. Inside the massive council chamber, representatives from 47 different species gathered around the circular platform. The air buzzed with hundreds of different languages, creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and electronic tones. Ambassador Kretal from the Zentari Union adjusted her blue-scaled fins and looked around the chamber. Today was supposed to be a simple cultural exchange session. Nothing important. Nothing that would change the galaxy. She was wrong. At the center of the platform stood Zektar, the oldest historian in Federation space. His metallic scales had dulled with age, but his yellow eyes still burned with curiosity. The ancient Vorthak carried a data tablet covered in symbols that most species had forgotten. Fellow beings, Zektar's voice echoed through the chamber's translation system. Today I wish to share something unusual, something that has puzzled historians for thousands of years. The chatter in the chamber slowly died down. Even the gaseous collective stopped their constant humming to listen. I speak of the Terran legends, Zektar continued. Stories that appear in the mythology of dozens of different species, yet describe beings that could not possibly exist. Commander Veltara of the Hegemony Defense Force laughed. Her 6 arms gestured dismissively. Not this again, old one. Every child knows those fairy tales. Ah, but do they? Zektar's eyes sparkled. Listen carefully to what these myths describe. The historian activated his holographic display. Images of a blue and green world appeared, spinning slowly in the chamber's center. The legends speak of a world called Earth, a planet where liquid water falls from the sky in endless storms, where the ground itself moves and shakes, swallowing entire cities, where giant waves can destroy coastal regions and frozen water covers vast areas for months at a time. Several species shifted uncomfortably. The thermal collective, who lived in carefully controlled temperature zones, found the idea particularly disturbing. The myths describe the dominant species as bipedal creatures with forward-facing eyes, Zektar continued. Predator vision designed for hunting. They allegedly possess no natural weapons, no armored skin, no energy abilities. Yet somehow they became the apex species of their world. Impossible, declared scientist Quex from the Logical Synthesis. No species can dominate a death world without natural advantages. The mathematics simply do not work. Zektar smiled, showing his pointed teeth. That is what makes these legends so fascinating. The stories claim these humans compensated for their weakness by creating tools. Not energy-based technology like ours, but crude implements made from metal and stone. The hologram shifted, showing primitive weapons and machines from various mythologies. According to the tales, they discovered how to harness chemical explosions for warfare. They built vehicles powered by controlled combustion. Most remarkably, they allegedly learned to split atoms themselves, creating weapons that could level mountains. The chamber erupted in laughter. The idea of splitting atoms with primitive technology seemed absurd to species who manipulated matter with thought alone. Ambassador Thixra from the Peaceful Collective waved her tentacles in amusement. Dear Zektar, surely you do not believe such stories. Atomic manipulation requires consciousness evolution far beyond physical tool-making. I present only what the legends claim, Zektar replied calmly. But consider this. Why do these stories appear in the mythology of species separated by thousands of light years? The distant wanderers speak of metal demons from the Third Rock. The ancient builders left warnings about fire wielders from the Yellow Star system. Even the Void Watchers have records of the species that makes war upon itself. The laughter began to fade. When multiple civilizations shared similar myths, historians paid attention. Zektar activated another display. This one showed star charts with one small system highlighted in red. The most intriguing detail is how specific these legends are. They all point to the same location, a G-type star system, third planet from the Sun. The coordinates match perfectly across different mythologies. Captain Mordeth from the Explorer Corps leaned forward. His crystalline body reflected the chamber's lights as he spoke. I know that system. We surveyed it 300 years ago. The third planet is a Class 12 death world. Volcanic activity, unstable weather patterns, dangerous radiation levels. Nothing could live there. Exactly, Zektar said softly. Nothing could live there, which makes the legends even more impossible to explain. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Myths were one thing, but myths that provided accurate astronomical data were something else entirely. Dr. Wexner from the Research Coalition activated her neural interface and began accessing historical databases. I am cross-referencing the coordinate data with our exploration records. The mathematical precision is disturbing. What do you mean? Asked Ambassador Kretal. The legends do not just point to the same star system, Dr. Wexner replied, her voice tight with concern. They provide exact orbital mechanics, atmospheric composition ratios, and gravitational field measurements. Information that would require direct observation to obtain. The mood in the chamber shifted from amusement to unease. Fairy tales did not contain scientific data accurate to 12 decimal places. Zektar waited for the murmurs to die down before continuing. There is one more detail that appears in every version of the myth. The legends claim that someday these humans will leave their death world and venture into space. They will bring with them ships built from the same crude materials as their weapons: metal hulls, chemical propulsion, atomic power sources. But such primitive technology could never achieve faster-than-light travel, protested engineer Kyleton from the Technical Guild. The energy requirements alone would be impossible to meet with chemical reactions. The myths suggest they found a way, Zektar said quietly, and they claim that when humans finally reach the stars, they will prove that legends can be far more dangerous than reality. The chamber's lighting suddenly shifted to emergency amber. Admiral Zenkara from Central Defense materialized at the platform's edge, her energy form crackling with urgency. Forgive the interruption, she announced, but we have a situation. Long-range sensors have detected massive energy signatures approaching from the outer spiral. Unknown ship configurations, unprecedented power readings. The blood of several species ran cold. The outer spiral was unexplored territory, home to ancient dangers and forgotten terrors. What kind of energy signatures? Commander Veltara demanded, suddenly serious. Admiral Zenkara's form flickered as she accessed the sensor data. Crude but powerful. Inefficient but devastatingly effective. The readings suggest atomic fission reactors, chemical propulsion systems, and kinetic weapon arrays. Technologies we abandoned millennia ago. The chamber erupted in panic. Species began evacuating toward their ships, while defense commanders activated emergency protocols. But Zektar remained at the platform, staring at the approaching sensor contacts with a mixture of wonder and terror. The legends were wrong about one thing, he whispered to himself. They said humans would prove dangerous when they reached the stars, but they never mentioned what would happen to the rest of us when they did. As alarms echoed through the crystal dome, the galaxy prepared to discover whether some myths were too terrible to be true, and in the depths of space, something that should not exist continued its steady approach toward the civilized worlds, carrying with it the weight of impossible legends and the promise of a future that no one was prepared to face. The age of myths was ending. The age of humanity was about to begin. 3 months had passed since the emergency alert on Viridian Prime. The mysterious energy signatures had vanished from long-range sensors, leaving the Federation's best scientists confused and worried. Some believed the readings had been sensor errors. Others feared something worse was coming. They were right to be afraid. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace through the main view screen. Behind her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. The soft hum of the ship's nuclear reactors provided a steady background rhythm that every human found comforting. "Captain," called Lieutenant Martinez from the navigation station, "we're approaching the emergence point. 30 seconds to normal space." Sarah nodded, straightening her dark blue uniform. After 18 months of travel from Earth, humanity was about to make first contact with galactic civilization. The weight of history pressed down on her shoulders. "All stations report ready," announced Commander Park, her second-in-command. "Fleet formation is stable." Through the view screen, Sarah could see the other ships of humanity's first diplomatic mission. The heavy cruiser Defiant flanked them to port, while the destroyer Relentless held position to starboard. Each ship bore the scars of humanity's journey through the galaxy: hull patches from asteroid impacts, burn marks from radiation storms, and the general wear that came from crossing impossible distances with determination alone. "Emergence in 10 seconds, Martinez called out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. The swirling colors of hyperspace vanished, replaced by the stark beauty of normal space. Ahead of them lay the Kepler sector, humanity's first glimpse of civilized galactic territory. Sensors are active, reported Ensign Kim from her station. I'm reading multiple artificial structures. Space stations, orbital platforms, shipping lanes. Captain, there are hundreds of ships out there. Sarah smiled grimly. After centuries of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, they had finally found their answer. They were not alone, but they were definitely outnumbered. Communications, open a channel on all standard frequencies, Sarah ordered. Let's announce ourselves to the neighbors. Lieutenant Rodriguez worked frantically at his console. Captain, their communication systems are incredibly advanced. Energy-based transmissions, quantum entanglement networks, even what appears to be telepathic relay systems. Our radio equipment seems primitive by comparison. Sometimes primitive works better, Sarah replied. Keep trying. Across the sector, Federation monitoring stations detected the human fleet's arrival with growing alarm. The ships that emerged from hyperspace looked nothing like the elegant vessels of civilized space. They were angular, brutal things that seemed designed by engineers who expected everything to go wrong. On the monitoring station watchful eye, sensor operator Quintel stared at his displays in disbelief. Commander Rixta, you need to see this. Those ships, they're using atomic fission for power. Atomic fission! Who builds reactors with uncontrolled nuclear reactions? Commander Rixta, a crystalline being whose body reflected the station's lights, moved to examine the readings. Are you certain? No civilization has used such dangerous technology for millennia. The energy signatures don't lie, Quintel replied nervously. And Commander, look at their weapon systems. Those appear to be kinetic projectile launchers. They're planning to shoot metal at their enemies. The implication sent shockwaves through the Federation's command structure. A species that still used atomic power and kinetic weapons had somehow achieved faster-than-light travel. It shouldn't be possible, but the evidence floated before their sensors. Admiral Velcara of the Federation Defense Force received the reports aboard her flagship, the living vessel Harmony's Dream. Her 6 arms gestured in patterns of concern as she processed the information. A species that never learned proper energy manipulation has reached our space, she told her staff. How is this possible? Perhaps they are not as primitive as they appear, suggested Science Officer Thexna. Their hyperspace emergence was flawless. No species achieved such precision without advanced mathematics. The debate ended when Lieutenant Rodriguez finally established contact. His transmission, broadcast on ancient radio frequencies, cut through the sector's communication networks like a knife through silk. Unknown vessels, this is the United Earth Space Navy diplomatic mission. We come in peace, seeking contact with galactic civilization. Please respond. The words United Earth sent panic through every Federation database. Ancient star charts confirmed it. Earth was the 3rd planet of a G-type star system. The same system mentioned in countless mythological texts. The legends were real. Ambassador Quilseth, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, took command of the Federation's response. As the galaxy's most experienced diplomat, she had handled first contact with dozens of species, but none had ever emerged from mythology. Unknown Earth vessels, she transmitted, her energy form pulsing with careful neutrality. This is Ambassador Quilseth of the Galactic Trade Federation. You have entered Sovereign Federation space. State your intentions. On the Indomitable's bridge, the crew exchanged glances as the alien transmission appeared on their screens. The words were translated by their computer systems, but the implications were staggering. They have a galactic government, Commander Park whispered. We're not dealing with a single species, but an entire civilization of species. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. Ambassador Quilseth, this is Captain Sarah Chen. We represent the United Earth government in seeking diplomatic relations with your Federation. We request permission to dock at a neutral location for formal negotiations. The request created chaos throughout Federation space. Emergency sessions were called, defense fleets were alerted, and xenobiologists frantically researched every scrap of information about the mythical human species. Dr. Morphin from the Evolutionary Institute delivered the most disturbing report. According to the legends, humans evolved on a Class 12 death world. If the myths are accurate, these beings survived conditions that would kill most civilized species. Their psychology, their technology, their entire approach to problem-solving will be fundamentally different from ours. As hours passed, the human fleet waited patiently at the edge of Federation space. They made no aggressive moves, but their very presence was intimidating. The ships looked like they had been built to survive wars that would destroy entire star systems. Finally, Ambassador Quilseth made the decision that would change galactic history. Earth vessels, you are granted permission to dock at Concordia Station in the neutral zone. A diplomatic meeting will be arranged. Acknowledged, Captain Chen replied. We appreciate your hospitality. The human fleet will follow your designated flight path. As the human ships began their approach to Concordia Station, news of their arrival spread throughout Federation space. The Terran legends had become Terran reality, and no one knew what that would mean for the galaxy. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Sarah Chen looked out at the stars and wondered if humanity was ready for what lay ahead. They had spent centuries preparing for this moment, but preparation could only go so far. Captain, Commander Park said quietly. Sensors show hundreds of Federation ships converging on our position. Some appear to be warships, Sarah nodded. They're scared. Can't blame them. If the situation were reversed, we'd be scared too. Orders, Captain. We continue as planned, Sarah replied. We came here to make friends, not enemies. Let's hope they feel the same way. The human fleet continued its steady approach to Concordia Station, carrying with them the hopes of an entire species and the weight of legends that had suddenly become all too real. First contact had begun. The galaxy would never be the same. Concordia Station hung in space like a massive jewel, its crystalline structures catching the light of the nearby neutron star. The station served as neutral ground for diplomatic meetings between the Federation's many species. Today, it would host the most important first contact in galactic history. Captain Sarah Chen walked through the station's corridors alongside her diplomatic team. The artificial gravity felt heavy to most alien species, but humans found it comfortable. Behind her, Commander Park and Dr. Elizabeth Warren, Earth's leading xenobiologist, observed everything with careful attention. The architecture is impressive, Dr. Warren whispered, looking at the flowing organic walls that seemed to grow rather than being built. Their construction methods are completely different from ours. Stay focused, Sarah replied quietly. Remember, we're representing all of humanity today. They entered the main conference chamber, a vast circular room with a transparent dome showing the swirling colors of the neutron star outside. Representatives from dozens of Federation species were already present, their forms ranging from crystalline beings to energy clouds to creatures that looked like living metals. Ambassador Quilseth floated at the center of the room, her energy form contained within its crystalline housing. Welcome, representatives of Earth, please take your positions. The humans moved to their designated area, and Sarah noticed something immediately. Every alien in the room was watching them with the intensity of predators studying dangerous prey. Some seemed curious, others fearful, but all were completely focused on the human delegation. Beings of the Federation, Ambassador Quilseth announced. We gather today to formally meet the species known as humans, a species that until recently existed only in our oldest myths and legends. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The gaseous collective hummed nervously, while the thermal coalition's representatives shifted their heated bodies in patterns of unease. Captain Chen, the ambassador continued, please tell us about your species and your homeworld. Sarah stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. She had practiced this moment countless times, but standing before representatives of an entire galaxy felt different than any simulation. Thank you, Ambassador. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Navy. I represent the United Earth government and approximately 8 billion human beings. The number caused a stir. Several species whispered among themselves about the implications of such a large population on a single world. Our homeworld Earth orbits a G-type star in what you call the Sol system, Sarah continued. It is a world of great diversity, with vast oceans, multiple climate zones, and active geological processes. Commander Veltara from the Hegemony leaned forward. Captain Chen, our surveys classified your world as uninhabitable. How does your species survive in such conditions? Sarah smiled slightly. We adapt. Earth has taught us to expect change, to prepare for disasters, and to find solutions when everything goes wrong. Dr. Zethara from the Peaceful Collective gestured with her tentacles. But surely you must have evolved natural defenses. Armor plating? Energy manipulation abilities? How else could you become the dominant species of a death world? We have no natural armor, Sarah replied calmly. No energy abilities. No telepathic powers. We are by galactic standards quite ordinary in our physical capabilities. The chamber fell silent. The idea of an unprotected species dominating a death world violated everything they understood about evolution and survival. Then how? Whispered Science Officer Quex from the Logical Synthesis. The mathematics are impossible. Dr. Warren stepped forward.
May I explain our evolutionary path?
At Sarah's nod, the xenobiologist activated a holographic display showing Earth's timeline. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, Dr. Warren began. We could not run as fast as our prey, but we could run longer. We could not overpower large predators, but we could outlast them. Our greatest advantage was not strength or speed, but endurance and adaptability. The hologram showed early humans tracking animals across vast distances, never giving up despite setbacks and failures. When our environment changed, we learned to make tools, Dr. Warren continued. When tools were not enough, we learned to control fire. When fire was not enough, we learned to work together in larger and larger groups. Engineer Kyleton from the Technical Guild studied the displays with growing amazement. You use combustion for energy? And metal tools for construction? Such primitive methods. Primitive but effective, Commander Park interjected. Every human technology is designed around one principle. It must work even when everything else fails. The hologram shifted to show human spacecraft, weapons, and cities. Alien observers noted the brutal efficiency of human engineering, the redundant systems, the focus on durability over elegance. Your ships, Admiral Zenkara observed, they appear designed for warfare. All human ships are designed for warfare, Sarah admitted. On Earth, conflict is constant. Weather conflicts with our cities. Geological activity conflicts with our infrastructure. Resources conflict with population needs. We learned early that if something cannot survive conflict, it will not survive at all. The admission sent waves of concern through the chamber. A species that designed everything for war would be extremely dangerous to encounter in actual combat. Ambassador Thixra from the Cultural Exchange asked the question many were thinking. Do humans war among themselves? Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully. Humans have a history of internal conflict. We have fought wars over resources, territory, ideology, and sometimes simple misunderstandings. These conflicts taught us hard lessons about strategy, technology, and survival. But surely, pressed Dr. Wexna from the Research Coalition, such constant warfare would destroy your civilization. It nearly did several times, Sarah acknowledged, but each time we adapted. We learned from our mistakes. We developed better methods of communication, better systems of government, better ways to resolve conflicts without destroying everything we had built. Commander Park activated another display. Human military doctrine is based on a simple concept. Win the war, protect the people, preserve the future. Everything else is secondary. The alien representatives studied the human military philosophy with growing unease. Their own species had evolved beyond warfare millennia ago, developing diplomatic and energy-based solutions to conflicts. The idea of a species that had weaponized survival itself was deeply disturbing. Captain Mordeth from the Explorer Corps asked, "What are your intentions in Federation space? What do you seek?" Sarah looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many representatives as possible. We seek what every species seeks, a future for our people. We want to trade with other civilizations, learn from them, share knowledge, and contribute to the greater galactic community. And if conflicts arise? Admiral Zenkara asked pointedly. We hope they will not, Sarah replied. But if they do, we will respond as we always have. We will adapt, we will endure, and we will protect those who depend on us. The chamber remained silent for several minutes as the implications sank in. The Federation had spent millennia building a civilization based on cooperation and peaceful coexistence. Now they faced a species forged by conflict, shaped by adversity, and trained by their own world to never surrender. Ambassador Quilseth finally spoke. Captain Chen, your people present unique challenges for integration into Federation society. You are clearly intelligent and capable, but your approach to problem-solving is fundamentally different from ours. We understand that, Sarah replied. We do not ask you to change your ways to accommodate us. We ask only for the chance to prove that different approaches can work together toward common goals. And what would those common goals be? Sarah gestured toward the dome showing the neutron star outside. Survival, exploration, the advancement of knowledge, the protection of all intelligent life. These are goals that unite us, regardless of how we evolved or what methods we use to achieve them. As the session ended, alien representatives filed out with much to discuss. They had expected to meet primitive barbarians wielding dangerous toys. Instead, they had encountered a species whose very existence challenged everything they thought they knew about evolution, warfare, and survival. The humans had revealed themselves not as monsters from mythology, but as something potentially far more dangerous, competent, determined beings who had turned the universe's attempts to destroy them into the foundation of their civilization. The real test would come when theory met reality. The emergency klaxons echoed through Concordia Station like the screams of dying stars. Captain Sarah Chen was halfway back to her ship when Admiral Zenkara materialized beside her, the energy being's crystalline form crackling with urgent light. "Captain Chen, we have a crisis," the Admiral announced. "The Void Hunters have launched their largest attack in centuries. Our outer colonies are under assault." Sarah stopped walking, her diplomatic team gathering around her. "The Void Hunters? Machine intelligences from beyond our galaxy," Admiral Zenkara explained quickly. "They consume entire star systems to build more ships. Our forces are engaging them now in the Proxima Nebula, but—" She paused, her energy form flickering with distress. "But," Sarah prompted, "our weapons are having no effect. The machines adapt to our energy-based attacks within minutes. Our bioships cannot match their coordination. Captain, we are losing badly." Through the station's viewport, Sarah could see Federation ships streaming past at high speed, their elegant forms moving toward the distant battle. She also noticed something else. Many of those same ships were returning damaged, their organic hulls bearing terrible wounds. "How can we help?" Sarah asked without hesitation. The question surprised every alien in the corridor. Commander Veltara, who had been listening from nearby, stepped forward. "Captain, your ships are not designed for our type of warfare. Your weapons are primitive, your tactics unknown. This battle requires advanced coordination and energy manipulation." Sarah looked at the damaged Federation ships limping back from battle. "Your advanced coordination doesn't seem to be working." The blunt observation stung, but it was accurate. The Federation's military had been built around the assumption that elegant solutions were always superior to crude ones. The Void Hunters were proving that assumption wrong. "Admiral," Sarah said firmly, "give us permission to engage. Let humanity show you how we solve impossible problems." Admiral Zenkara's form pulsed with uncertainty. "Captain, I cannot ask you to sacrifice your people for our conflicts. Your species has just made first contact. You have no obligation to—" "We're not doing this out of obligation," Sarah interrupted. "We're doing it because it's the right thing to do." Within minutes, the human fleet was moving toward the Proxima Nebula at full speed. The UES Indomitable led the formation, followed by the Defiant and Relentless. Compared to the graceful Federation vessels around them, the human ships looked like crude hammers among delicate sculptures. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Martinez from navigation, "we're approaching the battle zone. Sensors show massive energy discharges ahead." The view screen activated, revealing a scene of cosmic horror. Hundreds of Void Hunter ships swarmed through the nebula like metallic insects. Each vessel was a perfect geometric form, seemingly grown rather than built. They moved with mechanical precision, adapting their formations instantly to counter every Federation tactic. "My God," whispered Dr. Warren, "there are so many of them." Sarah studied the tactical display with a soldier's eye. The Federation ships were fighting like individuals, each vessel using its unique capabilities to maximum advantage. It was beautiful to watch, but utterly ineffective against an enemy that learned from every attack. "Communications, open a channel to all Federation vessels," Sarah ordered. "Channel open, Captain. Federation Fleet, this is Captain Chen of the Human Task Force. We are moving to engage. Please clear firing lanes and prepare for close support." Commander Zilka of the biocruiser Living Dream responded immediately. "Human vessels, you must maintain distance. These machines adapt to energy weapons within moments. Your primitive kinetic weapons will be even less effective." Sarah smiled grimly. "Commander, you've never seen primitive weapons used properly. All ships, this is Chen. Execute formation hammer. Let's show them how Earth does business." The human ships suddenly accelerated, their nuclear engines pushing them far beyond safe operational limits. Instead of the careful maneuvering favored by Federation vessels, they charged directly at the densest concentration of Void Hunter ships. "Captain," Commander Park called out, "we're taking heavy fire." "Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. Damage control teams respond," Sarah ordered calmly. "Weapons, target the largest Void Hunter vessel. Full nuclear salvo." "Ma'am, that ship is 3 times our size," the weapons officer protested. "Then we'll hit it 3 times as hard. Fire." The Indomitable's missile bays opened, revealing rows of nuclear-tipped warheads. Unlike the elegant energy beams of Federation ships, human weapons were brutal things designed to destroy rather than disable. The missiles streaked across space, their primitive guidance systems too simple for the Void Hunters' sophisticated jamming arrays to disrupt. The machines tried to intercept them with energy barriers, but nuclear warheads cared nothing for energy shields. They exploded against the hull of the massive Void Hunter dreadnought, atomic fire consuming its perfectly geometric surface. "Direct hit," called the weapons officer in amazement. "The target is heavily damaged." "Good," Sarah replied. "Now ram it." The bridge fell silent. Even by human standards, ramming was an extreme tactic. "Captain?" Commander Park asked carefully. "You heard me. All ahead full. If that thing wants to adapt to our weapons, let's see it adapt to 10,000 tons of earth steel moving at combat speed." The Indomitable accelerated toward the wounded Void Hunter dreadnought, its armored prow aimed at the machine's core. The Void Hunters tried to move their ship out of the way, but the nuclear explosions had damaged their propulsion systems. The collision was spectacular. The human ship's reinforced hull punched through the Void Hunter's adaptive armor like a spear through paper. Emergency bulkheads sealed immediately, keeping the Indomitable's crew alive as nuclear charges detonated throughout the enemy vessel. "Boarding parties away," Sarah commanded. Human Marines in powered armor streamed through the breach, carrying weapons that the Void Hunters had no programming to handle. Shotguns loaded with armor-piercing slugs, flamethrowers that turned corridors into infernos, explosives that brought down entire sections of the machine ship. The Void Hunters' central intelligence tried to adapt, but human tactics made no logical sense. The Marines fought like they expected to die, using their ships and equipment as weapons when conventional methods failed. Across the battlefield, the Defiant and Relentless were employing similar strategies. The Defiant used its point defense guns to sweep smaller Void Hunter vessels from space, while the Relentless had somehow managed to board a machine carrier and was systematically destroying it from within. The Federation fleet watched in stunned silence as humanity's primitive approach proved devastatingly effective. The Void Hunters' adaptive intelligence, designed to counter sophisticated tactics, couldn't process the humans' apparent willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. "Federation fleet, this is Chen," Sarah called out from her damaged bridge. "The enemy's main command node is in that pyramid-shaped vessel. All units, concentrate fire." "Captain Chen," Commander Zilka replied, "our energy weapons cannot penetrate its adaptive shielding." "Then stop using energy weapons. Use mass drivers, kinetic penetrators, anything that hits hard enough to break through. Sometimes the old ways work best." The Federation ships began switching to their backup kinetic systems, weapons they had considered obsolete for centuries. Solid projectiles streaked across space, punching through Void Hunter shields that had easily deflected energy beams. The tide of battle turned. Void Hunter ships, designed to adapt to elegant solutions, found themselves overwhelmed by brute force tactics. Their perfect formations crumbled under sustained kinetic bombardment, and their adaptive algorithms crashed when faced with the controlled chaos of human military doctrine. When the final Void Hunter vessel exploded in silent fury, the Proxima Nebula fell quiet except for the crackling of radiation from destroyed ships. The Federation had won, but not through their own methods. "All ships report status," Sarah ordered, examining the damage to her own vessel. "Indomitable reporting heavy damage but operational," came the reply from her engineering officer. Defiant and Relentless are in similar condition. Admiral Zenkara materialized on the human bridge, her energy form dimmed with exhaustion and amazement. "Captain Chen, your tactics were unprecedented. You achieved victory through methods we abandoned millennia ago." Sarah looked up from her damage reports. "Admiral, sometimes progress means going backward to go forward. Your people developed elegant solutions because you could afford to. We developed brutal solutions because we had to. But at such cost. the Admiral whispered, looking at the human casualties displayed on the medical screens. The cost of fighting is always high, Sarah replied quietly. But the cost of not fighting when it matters is higher. Your colonies are safe. Your people will live. That's worth any price we had to pay. The Admiral's form brightened with understanding and respect. Captain, I believe the Federation has much to learn from humanity. Sarah smiled despite her exhaustion. And we have much to learn from you. Maybe together we can find better ways to protect what matters most. The battle was over, but its implications would reshape the galaxy forever. 6 months after the Battle of Proxima Nebula, Concordia Station had been transformed. Human engineers worked alongside Federation architects, installing backup kinetic weapon systems and reinforced armor plating. The elegant crystalline corridors now carried the practical modifications that had become known throughout the galaxy as human-style engineering. Admiral Sarah Chen walked through the station's new command center, watching Federation officers study tactical displays that showed human military formations. Her promotion had been unanimous among the Federation Council, a recognition of humanity's contribution to galactic security. Admiral, called Commander Veltara, approaching with what humans had learned to recognize as excitement in her species. The integration reports from the outer colonies are remarkable. Productivity has increased by 30% since we began implementing human redundancy protocols. Sarah nodded, reviewing the data on her tablet. The Federation had discovered that human engineering principles, while crude by their standards, provided incredible stability during crisis situations. When sophisticated systems failed, simple mechanical backups kept colonies running. Any resistance to the changes? Sarah asked. Less than expected, Veltara replied. After Proxima, most species understand the value of, what do you call it? Belt and suspenders? Backup systems for the backup systems, Sarah translated with a smile. My species learned early that if something can go wrong, it will go wrong at the worst possible time. The command center's main screen activated, showing Ambassador Quilseth materializing from her chambers. Admiral Chen, the council session is beginning. Your presence is requested. Sarah made her way to the diplomatic chambers where the same circular room that had witnessed first contact now hosted regular strategy meetings. The Federation had learned to value human input on matters of defense and crisis management. Fellow beings, Ambassador Quilseth announced to the assembled representatives, today we discuss the formal establishment of the Human Integration Office. Admiral Chen, please present your proposal. Sarah stood before the council, no longer the nervous captain seeking acceptance, but a proven leader whose species had earned its place among the stars. Honored representatives, she began. 6 months ago, humans were legends. Today, we are partners. The integration process has taught us all valuable lessons about the difference between complexity and effectiveness. She activated a holographic display showing Federation space, now marked with human patrol routes and defense stations. The Human Integration Office proposes a new approach to galactic security. Not replacement of your existing methods, but enhancement through diversity of tactics. When elegant solutions fail, crude ones succeed. When sophisticated technology breaks down, simple mechanics endure. Dr. Zethara from the Peaceful Collective gestured with her tentacles. Admiral, your methods have proven effective, but they come at great cost. Human casualty rates in combat are significantly higher than Federation averages. That's true, Sarah acknowledged, but total casualty rates across all conflicts have decreased by 60% since we began joint operations. Sometimes accepting higher risk for trained soldiers means lower risk for civilian populations. The statement sparked murmurs throughout the chamber. The Federation had always prioritized minimizing all casualties, often leading to prolonged conflicts that ultimately caused more suffering. Captain Mordeth from the Explorer Corps leaned forward. Admiral, there are philosophical concerns. Your species approaches problems as if expecting failure. Does this not create a pessimistic worldview? Sarah considered the question carefully. Commander Mordeth, we don't expect failure because we're pessimistic. We prepare for failure because we're realistic. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. This approach has served humanity well on our dangerous homeworld. But surely, interjected Science Officer Quex from the Logical Synthesis, such constant preparation for disaster must limit creative thinking and innovation. Actually, it enhances it, replied Dr. Warren, who had been invited to observe the session. When you assume everything will break eventually, you become very creative about finding solutions. Human innovation comes from necessity, not comfort. The discussion was interrupted when Emergency Coordinator Fluxara materialized in the chamber, her energy form pulsing with urgent information. Council, we have received reports from the Rimward territories. The Plague Worlds are requesting immediate assistance. Their bioremediation systems have failed completely, and conventional Federation technology cannot function in the contaminated environment. Sarah looked up sharply. The Plague Worlds were former Federation colonies abandoned centuries ago, after biological contamination made them uninhabitable. No Federation species could survive there long enough to effect repairs. What type of contamination? She asked. Radiation, toxic atmosphere, corrosive compounds in the soil and water, Fluxara replied. The environment would kill most Federation species within hours, even with protective equipment. Sarah stood slowly, a plan forming in her mind. How many survivors are there? Approximately 50,000 beings across 3 worlds. They are the descendants of colonists who adapted to the harsh conditions, but their life support systems are failing. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood the implications. Those 50,000 people would die unless someone could reach them, and no Federation species possessed the necessary environmental tolerance. Except one. Admiral Chen, Ambassador Quilseth said quietly. Surely you are not considering— I am, Sarah replied firmly. Humans evolved on a death world. Radiation, toxic atmosphere, corrosive environment. These are conditions we can handle. Give us proper equipment and support and we can repair their systems. But the risk, protested Commander Veltara. Even for humans, this would be extremely dangerous. Sarah smiled, the expression that had become familiar to Federation representatives who worked with humans. It was the look they wore when facing impossible odds and refusing to back down. Commander, dangerous is what we do best. The question isn't whether it's risky. Everything worthwhile is risky. The question is whether those people deserve a chance to live. The vote was unanimous. Within days, human engineering teams were deploying to the Plague Worlds, their ships loaded with the crude, reliable technology that could function in environments that would destroy sophisticated Federation systems. 3 months later, the mission reports arrived. The Plague Worlds were habitable again, their systems restored by human engineers who had worked in conditions that would have killed most species. The 50,000 survivors were alive, their colonies rebuilt with the kind of redundant, failure-resistant systems that humans designed instinctively. The success of the Plague World missions marked the final step in humanity's integration into galactic society. They were no longer the mythical species from dangerous legends, but valued partners whose unique capabilities complemented the Federation's strengths. Admiral Chen stood in her new office aboard the expanded Concordia station, looking out at the mixed fleet of human and Federation ships that now patrolled the sector. The sight would have been impossible to imagine a year earlier, but it had become the new normal. Ambassador Quilseth materialized beside her, the energy being's form glowing with what humans had learned to recognize as contentment. Admiral, the Council has approved the expansion of Human Federation joint operations to 12 more sectors. It seems your species has found its place among the stars. Sarah nodded, watching a human destroyer dock alongside a graceful crystalline cruiser. Ambassador, we didn't find our place. We made our place the same way we always have. And how is that? By refusing to give up when things get difficult. By preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. By understanding that sometimes the crude solution works better than the elegant one. She turned to face the ambassador directly, but mostly by remembering that it's not about us. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves and building something better for the next generation. The ambassador's form pulsed with understanding. The legends spoke of humans as warriors from a death world. They never mentioned that you were also guardians. Sarah smiled. Same thing, really. We fight so others don't have to. We endure the dangerous places so others can live safely. We break our bodies and ships against impossible problems so that solutions become possible. Outside the viewport, the mixed fleet continued its patrol of the sector, human and alien vessels working together to protect the countless worlds of the Federation. The age of myths had ended, replaced by something better. The age of cooperation between species who understood that strength comes not from perfection, but from the willingness to stand together against whatever darkness threatens the light of civilization. The galaxy had learned that legends, when they prove to be real, can become the foundation for a better future. And humanity had learned that sometimes the greatest victory is not conquest but acceptance, the chance to use their hard-won skills not for destruction, but for the protection of all sentient life. The stars were safer now, guarded by beings who had learned to fight not because they loved war, but because they loved peace enough to pay its price.